Hello, everyone. That was way too enthusiastic. That was too cheesy. That was way too enthusiastic. Cheesy. Way too cheesy. All right.
Okay, I'm going to do the intro. Hello, everyone. We're here for I have a hypothetical question with William. We're all very tired. Math test.
Now, come on,
everyone
let's
except me.
Let's cheer up, guys. All right.
Yeah, I feel like
start this from scratch. Let's go.
This is like too tired. I get that you guys work hard, but I work harder figuring out these questions. You don't even understand.
Do the intro. Let's start.
That was the intro.
The intro is over. Yes, this has been the intro. All right. So we're gonna do, as Jonathan said, another question, and today's question is about censorship. When is it viable? When is it all right? Is it ever all right? Etc. Etc. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it's the age-old question of sort of the battle between free speech and protecting people from hate speech.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
yeah.
A lot of it is just a question of like, does a body or entity wish to take on responsibility for the bad things that happen and like protecting others, or is it up to the people themselves to take care of themselves and the information that they take in? Right. And that's basically what censorship is.
If we're talking about free speech, for example, then no one has responsibility because you're allowed to say whatever you want if you're a max free speech,
But then there's also the question of like,
I think you got to be a bit close.
What's also like if someone's like, oh, I'm offended. It's like if somebody's like, oh, I'm offended by this thing you said. It's like, okay, well then stop listening to it, or some shit like that. Like, don't just. It's a question of like websites where they'll give you like terms of conduct, say like, we'll censor things that don't say this. So anything within these two boundaries, for example, we'll let you say stuff about this. But if it's outside of that, then you kick it out.
If you make it clear what is censored,
I'm very tired right now, and I'm
your voice, like, it just kind of went down.
Yeah, I know.
The pitch went down.
I mumbled more, and my tone is going down. But also know that I'm tired, and I'm not very enthusiastic today.
Okay, all right. Okay. Back to the discussion.
We'll move the microphone away from you then.
Do that, please.
No talking, Ben. Ben, you're out of discussion. You lost.
But actually, though,
we censor them.
Yeah, it's ironic.
We're gonna. Okay, so this is one of the times we figured out an answer to the question. This is one of the times when it's all right to censor people. Ben.
Yeah.
That's the criteria.
Yeah. All right.
The criteria is me.
Yeah.
I am the criteria. No, it's too late. No, you guys have made the decision to censor.
Yeah, but then don't talk.
Yeah, shut up,
It's
then.
fine.
I can still talk. It's just not recorded.
Yes, it is recorded.
No, well, barely.
Go on. Come on.
All right.
You've got an answer for you.
Yeah.
For you has written an essay.
Like I always do. Yeah. I mean, the main thing with censorship, or like the strongest argument for censorship, is the fact that it actually reduces the risk of people encountering hate speech.
Sure.
And it doesn't need to be a direct hate speech, like, oh, I hate your race or whatever. It can be clothed as a I don't know. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it all right to joke about
states' rights, or if someone's being a patriot, it can be closed at anything. And
Sure.
and the fact the fact that we can censor and stop the hate before it starts to cause conflicts in society, I believe that's a good thing. But again, it comes to who's the gatekeeper, right? Who's the one
Is it the grand
determining?
and mighty state?
Yeah, who's the one determining what is morally and ethically right or wrong, right? Yeah.
I'd like to point out that Ben is actually looking up train times to get out of here as soon as possible.
No, I'm not. It's for. No, I'll take it. It's because we have an English play later, and I want to get there in time and also
Excuses.
have time to
All I hear are excuses.
It's all excuses. It's all excuses. You realize you don't actually have to go to the play, Ben.
I will, because it's free.
Okay.
All right. What do you think about censorship? Like, when is it okay?
I think I know quite a lot about it, being Chinese.
Yeah.
I mean, as for you speaking, I was thinking about it because right now I don't really like the whole idea of censorship. It's been really annoying to me. Like in China, you're not allowed to access like Google or YouTube, Instagram, whatever. We have everything for our own.
Yeah, they're like your
so
own
you're
versions
basically
of them.
cut off from the whole international community.
Yeah.
And also for example, I watch quite a lot of series and maybe some novels as well. But there are topics that the government doesn't like. And then you don't get to film about them or like
write about them or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's very annoying. And then it's stupid.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
All right. So you feel like it's never really a good thing.
No, but then I thought about it. I feel like, of course, without censorship, you would have more freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
But then that also kind of generates not bad communities, but like I feel like
Do you feel like it's possible for like radical communities?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like anti-vaccine is not really a thing in China.
No.
Probably because like you're not allowed to say anything about it, and people can't gather and discuss. But
That's a really fair point.
Yeah,
the fact
and
that
also,
you can,
like,
stop misinformation from spreading further and further.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
that's a good point. But
where's the line of misinformation crosses?
no, fake news.
Who decides?
Yeah,
That's
but
also
like,
a question of how language control it defines your thoughts as well. So if you limit like how you can use your language, you're also limiting people's thoughts. So that's maybe also another reason why there isn't. Well, yeah, but it works, right? And that's maybe why you don't have the anti-vax groups there, because people just don't express those ideas because they're literally not allowed to. So they don't think about it.
But I mean, if you don't get supported by people like who share this idea, I feel like the ideas kind of dies out.
Yeah, if someone
absolutely.
has it, it's just and no one else gets it. People are gonna give up.
So
Like-
I mean, there's
Like
definitely
corona spreading.
But how?
how to censor corona. That's the title of this
that's
video.
That's very easy, actually.
The president of Turkmenistan outlawed corona. That was his
So, I mean, it's
solution.
possible. Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. It's possible. You can outlaw corona.
If you don't think about it, it doesn't exist.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can go get sick, you can go die, but it wasn't from corona because it's banned.
Yeah, but I mean, what I would sort of say to this thing here about, I mean, yes, if you censored more, you could get rid of misinformation, but it's also like, just imagine things have happened in the past of like, I'm certain the English government would have liked to have censored feminists during the 1920s. They would have found that, and most people would have found that perfectly reasonable. We shouldn't spread these ideas. Now we think that would have been horrible. And it's like, it's so easy to sort of place your moral position on top of others. That's something, it's going to change throughout history. It's going to change throughout lives. It's going to change with research. I mean, you can always think that you're on the right side, but that isn't a reason to block other people's opinions. So as always, you're walking a fine line.
Yeah.
I think Parsa wanted to say something.
Yeah, I want to ask, what is censorship?
Oh, that's a good question. We should have.
At what point it's called censorship?
Yeah.
Like if your government doesn't tell you everything about what's happening in your country, is that censorship? Or if they edit something in your textbook, is that censorship?
Yeah, sure.
Let's
go around, because we've really been just assuming what censorship is. What is censorship for you, for example?
That's hard because in some ways I'm thinking right now of how there is so much news about the Ukraine conflict, which is their own right, but there's very little news about all the other conflicts in the world, and even though these are very much comparable in scale and damage,
maybe even larger,
very, very much possibly so.
Yeah.
We don't hear about it. So the question is that censorship, or is that us not being interested in that news?
Does there have to be a sort of volition to the censorship? Like, is censorship something you have to, like an agent has to do?
Yeah.
I don't think in the context of war, it's a question of censorship in that case, like everybody knowing about it, but more just like, let's take the Ukraine conflict, for example. I think the reason why there's a lot of coverage on it is just because, like, in Europe, we're quite Eurocentric a lot of the time, or like we're in Europe, so it makes sense for us to look at it. But then also we've got a lot of money and power compared to a lot of other countries as well. So therefore, it makes sense why there's focus here.
Sure,
And also
but there's also a hypocrisy in that.
That's not the topic today.
No, exactly. We're talking about censorship today.
So I guess censorship is more this with a sort of direct, no, you can't show this. Someone has decided that, and that you're not allowed to speak it out.
For example,
or share your views.
I have never ever in my whole life seen anything about the Congo war on any social media outlet.
But is it censored?
No,
it's
exactly.
Probably just
it's allowed to be there. It's just that no one's going to cover it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just like it lasted. How long did that last?
It's ongoing.
All right. Well, then maybe it just lasted so long that people just started lost interest in it. They're just like this is just continuing to happen. It's not new. Let's just like leave it.
So yeah,
I mean,
there's
think
a
about
difference.
News sites also have to make money.
There's a
that
difference
way, so.
between what there is demand for and what is actively
Sure.
suppressed or censored.
Nicole, what do you think? What do you have a definition in mind?
I mean,
of
I
censorship?
kind of just agree with Jonathan about like someone controlling what is being like open to the public.
Right.
What sort of information
Yeah.
is being distributed?
It can also be more soft power things. Instead of it being a hard law, there is fear that social media sites can influence what is seen and can decide what is shown. What the US government decides to say in their press conferences, what they choose to leave out. In some ways, that's a sort of softer form of censorship. There's not an outright ban on it.
Right.
Because they're just perhaps forgetting to say something.
Yeah.
Although one thing that I really wanted to mention was the cons, if you want to call it that.
Cons of censorship.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
One thing that came up to me when I was writing this essay was that I'm just gonna read off this short paragraph.
Oh, it's a good quote. Remember this one.
Mm.
Hashtag 2020.
That censorship allows people to create a specific narrative in society to call it the truth. So, for example,
If that's the case, then a lot of what we have in media by creating a narrative, right?
Yeah.
Media works to create narratives.
Absolutely.
Then what they do is a form of censorship.
Yeah, if you define censorship as what is being covered and what not, then journalism is in fact censorship, right? In a way.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyways, the example that I had in mind was that we often hear calls for censorship on like violence and video games, books, TV shows, whatever. So what I wrote here is that the reality of fictional violence is that it does not cause otherwise stable people to suddenly want to hurt someone. You know what I mean? And if we start suppressing people, then nothing would be safe from the censorship process, right? So yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah. One thing which I would say onto that is, perhaps the better way, instead of censoring things, I think it's more important to teach people the dangers of trusting narratives or believing in things. Of course that's hard, but
Critical
it's like
thinking.
Yeah, I mean
critical thinking. It's what we do in IB.
It can be extra hard for children and people.
And it's very easy to latch on to a narrative. Narratives explain things we don't understand. So it's very easy to just find one you like and be like, yes, that's how we're gonna fix it. That's how it happened, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we can take the example of Brodek's report. There's also the dangers of critical thinking or looking too deep, because then you've got powers that are like, if you continue looking down there, you pose a threat to me, and then if you pose a threat to me, I will get rid of you.
Then it's a corrupted system, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But then a lot of systems are like that as well, and there's a lot of people are like, let's take, let's stay on some more Russia. If you've got some ideas about, if you're showing ideas about, if you're showing the truth of what's happening in the war from Russia's perspective, and you as a journalist show this to the Russian people, then you are taken away, because you're showing a narrative which they haven't approved, which is showing like they're giving you a truth which the government is giving you I've lost everything. Yeah. Oh my fuck.
Basically, everyone has a bias. Kind of.
I think he's trying to say that if you don't follow the official narrative, you're gonna get punished. I think that's what he's saying.
Basically, yeah.
Well, I think we've gone on for a good while and said some good things. I think it's time for William to wrap up.
Sure.
I mean,
so
what do you think?
We can go through just real quick. So we thought perhaps any kind of obstruction of knowledge is any kind of, or rather the flow of information, I guess, is somehow censorship, or perhaps any creation of narrative explaining certain data points, etc., certain pieces of information is also censorship. And we've discussed case opportunities or case events of these. So I hope you go away from this video learning a little bit more about censorship. And that's about it for us.
Yeah. Have a nice one and goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Have a fun and
see you.
See you.
Nice.